British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, hold on guys, stated before the House of Commons that al-Queda is not actually a terrorist group, but a database of international mujahideen and arms dealers / smugglers used by the CIA to funnel arms, money, and guerrillas. The word al-Queda itself literally translates to the database. Not only did the CIA create the Taliban and al-Queda, they continued funding them right up to the 9/11 attacks blamed on them. For example, 4 months prior to 9/11, in May 2001, Colin Powell gave another $43 million in aid to the Taliban. And here's a quote from Steve Watson. Not even the corporate US media could whitewash these facts, and so explained it away by alleging that US officials had sought cooperation from Pakistan because it was the original backer of the Taliban, the hardline Islamic leadership of Afghanistan accused by Washington of harboring bin Laden. Then the so-called missing link came when it was revealed that the head of the ISI was the principal financier of the 9/11 hijackers. Pakistan and the ISI is the go-between of the global terror explosion. Pakistan's military intelligence apparatus, which literally created and sponsored the Taliban and al-Qaeda, is directly upheld and funded by the CIA. These facts are not even in dispute, neither in the media nor in the government. Therefore, when we are told by the neocon heads of the New World Order that they are doing everything in their power to dismantle the global terror network that we are hearing is the exact opposite of the truth. They assembled it, they sponsored it, and they continue to fund it. As any good criminal should, they have a middleman to provide plausible deniability, that middleman in the ISI and the military dictatorship of Pakistan. End quote. Oh, thanks, Jansen. Appreciate that. Major Pierre-Henri Bunel, a French military intelligence agent who was framed and convicted, no doubt for daring to raise his voice in December 2001, said, quote, "The truth is, there is no Islamic army or terrorist group called al-Qaeda, and any informed intelligence officer knows this. But there is a propaganda campaign to make the public believe in the presence of an identified entity representing the devil, only in order to drive the TV watcher to accept a unified international leadership for a war against terrorism. The country behind this propaganda is the US, and the lobbyists for the US war on terrorism are only interested in making money." End quote. Guys, if you're just coming in right now, I'm reading from the book The Atlantean Conspiracy. In a late 1980s Newsweek article, outspoken opponent of President Bush and recently assassinated Pakistani Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto told George Bush Sr., quote, "You are creating a Frankenstein," end quote, concerning the growing Islamist movement. She also came out in 2007 to say that Osama bin Laden was already long dead, having been murdered by Omar Sheikh. She was murdered herself a month after the interview, only 2 weeks before the Pakistani 2008 general elections. Thank you, Todd. All right, here's a subheading, the Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group is an annual conference of elites, so secretive it was nameless until being coined the Bilderberg Group, after its original meeting place. They first convened in 1954 at the Bilderberg Hotel in Holland, under direction of former Nazi SS Prince Bernhard and David Rockefeller. There was a core of 39 regulars with nearly 130 elites in politics, banking, business, and the media invited each year. Oh, how am I? I'm good, thank you. This is a quote from Paul Joseph Watson. "Surely, senior officials of the World Trade Organization, Federal Reserve, financial institutions like Rockefeller, the man himself, the EU and UN world government models, and corporate oil conglomerates couldn't belong to the same group as the leading politicians in the media. Well, they do. They all belong to the Bilderberg Group." End quote. Okay, here's a quote from Alex Jones. In 1954, the elite of the planet met in secret at the Bilderberg Hotel in Holland. The Bilderberg Group would later admit that their mission was the formation of the EU. Once the EU was established, under the guise of trade deals, a North American Union and Asian Union would be formed. The three interlocking superstates form the core of the global government, while the United Nations would serve as a world regulatory and enforcement body over the Third World subregions. The Bilderberg groups consist of the heads of all the managing roundtable groups that steer individual countries. Picture the elite power structure of the world as a giant pyramid with only the elite of the elite at the tip top of the capstone. The group has been so secretive that until the mid-1980s, the controlled corporate media denied its existence. Into the late 1990s, coverage only consisted of rare one-line mentions, but with the rise of the alternative media, their stranglehold on information has begun to slip, end quote. Ladushka says, where are you from? I'm from San Diego, California, here in the United States. James says, I broke my shitter. Oh, that's unfortunate. That really sucks, James. In the Illuminati hierarchy, a Bilderberg group is above / controls the CFR, RIIA, and Trilateral Commission. It is composed of kings, queens, princes, and princesses, presidents, and prime ministers from all over the world. IMF / World Bank Federal Reserve heads, U.S. senators, CFR members, EU commissioners, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, journalists, TV news anchors, CEOs, and more. The last 6 heads of NATO have been from the Bilderberg Group. In 1991, Bill Clinton was invited and the next year became president. Hillary has also been to Bilderberg. Other notable attendees include Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Dan Quayle, Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, Colin Powell, Prince Charles, King Juan Carlos and Queen Sofia of Spain, Queen Beatrix and Prince Bernard of the Netherlands, and so on. What is my favorite car? You know what, guys, I'm not terribly into cars. I drive a Nissan Versa. It does the job. I mean, Lamborghinis are pretty. Cadillacs are nice. Okay, so this is a quote from Gary Allen. The Bilderbergers meet once or sometimes twice a year. Those in attendance include leading political and financial figures from the United States and Western Europe. Prince Bernard makes no effort to hide the fact that the ultimate goal of the Bilderbergers is a world government. In the meantime, while the New World Order is being built, the Bilderbergers coordinate the efforts of the European and American power elites. Prince Bernard's counterpart among the American Bilderbergers is David Rockefeller, chairman of the board of the CFR, whose economic base is the giant Chase Manhattan Bank and Standard Oil. Among the other Bilderbergers from the world of ultra-high finance are Baron Edmund de Rothschild of the House of Rothschild C. Douglas Dillon of Dillon Reed and Company, Robert McNamara of the World Bank, Sir Eric Roll of S.G. Warburg and Company, Pierce Paul Schweitzer of the International Monetary Fund, and George Ball of Lehman Brothers. Every single one of those named as past and present members of the Bilderberger Steering Committee is or was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. End quote. Oh, yours is a 1970 Dodge Charger. And you have, oh, that's great. I love that. Oh, hi, Asian Cowboy. Guys, if you're just joining the stream right now, I'm reading from the book, The Atlantean Conspiracy. Oh, Suman Khan says, oh, good read. Yes, thank you. If you have never heard of Bilderberg, it's likely because the heads of CNN, Fox News, Newsweek, Time, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and many other media outlets are regular attendees. Protesters and journalists are kept well at bay by private police. No one is allowed anywhere near for coverage, and no minutes of the meeting are made public. Sorry, guys. Okay, quote from Alex Jones. Anna says, when do you usually stream? Oh, thanks, Asian Cowboy. Normally, and I say normally, I will be streaming on weekdays. I'll do one stream in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, like around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then my second stream will be early afternoon, Pacific Standard Time, like around 1 or 2 p.m. Oh, that's okay. Oh, no, I appreciate that. The nice sisters. All right, so here's a quote from Alex Jones. Now the Bilderberg Group in Reuters, which they own, has gone public that it actually grooms our presidents and our prime ministers, That yes, its members really are international bankers. Yes, royal families are involved. Yes, the Bilderberg Group runs the central banks. And yes, the elitists see us as the property of a global superstate. Secretive Bilderberg Group to meet in Sweden. Prince Philip, in his own publication, If I Were an Animal, brags about how he would kill 80% of the population. How his great dream is to come back as a virus. End quote. Oh, am I single? No, I'm not single, Brian. Okay, so here's a quote from Gary Allen. Of course, the landscape painters merely brushed the Bilderbergers right out of existence and focused the public's attention on something like the conditions in the prisons or Coke bottles littering the highways. Since the Bilderbergers are a group of the left, they are allowed to go on in peace and quiet planning for 1984. The fact that there is heavy Rockefeller, Chase, Manhattan Bank, and CFR influence in the media might also have something to do with the fact that while everybody has heard of, say, the John Birch Society, and almost always in a derogatory manner from the Eastern establishment media, practically nobody has heard of the Bilderbergers. End quote. Todd, I completely disagree with that. Researcher/author Daniela Stulin has followed the Bilderberg Group for over 15 years and recently published a highly recommended expose called, quote, The True Story of the Bilderberg Group, end quote. Journalist Jim Tucker has been following Bilderberg for more than 30 years and attended/staked out over 20 meetings. In Alex Jones' Bilderberg documentary, Endgame, Jim Tucker mentions his original disbelief such a group could exist without his knowledge. Okay, here's a quote from Jim Tucker from the Endgame. I first heard about Bilderberg in 1975, and I said, I don't believe it. It's not possible. Who in the hell is Bilderberg? I spent 20 happy years with metropolitan newspapers, all the wires clicking in my ear. That could not happen without me knowing about it. The newspapers totally ignore it, not a word. Total blackout in the United States. Since then, I've never stopped pursuing Bilderberg and the whole international gangster organization led by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds as they manipulate the world for their own selfish interests, end quote. How is my new drone? My new drone? Oh, I don't know what you mean. So why the media blackout? Why the secret meeting places, tinted windows, private police, and roaming guards? Quote from Jim Tucker, the reason they, the Bilderbergers, want secrecy is because they're doing evil. Evil is done in darkness. Good works are done in sunshine, end quote. Here's a quote from C. Gordon Tether of London's Financial Times. If the Bilderberg Group is not a conspiracy of some sort, it is conducted in such a way as to give a remarkably good imitation of one, end quote. Oh, drone? The nicest. I don't own a drone. Bye, Todd. Okay, so here's a quote from Jim Mars. If the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderbergers are simply innocent, well-intentioned people working to bring about a peaceful and prosperous world, as they claim, then why all the secrecy? Why all the front organizations, some of which are the antithesis of others? Why do they obviously distrust public attention? Which leads to the single most important question. If they do create a centralized one-world government, what's to prevent some Hitler-like tyrant from taking control? End quote. Oh, that's okay. Okay, so here's a sub-heading, the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission was founded by David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski in July 1973, and it's composed of approximately 325 elites in business, banking, and politics. The Trilateral Commission is propagated as being an economic cooperation between America, Europe, and Japan, but in reality is another secretive society slash organization, this one specializing in creating the trilateral economic interdependence necessary to bring in the New World Order system of world currency and world governance. They are setting up the framework and power structure necessary for these multinational banks and corporations to assume global control, dominating the world's populations, governments, and economies. Riley says, what are you reading? Oh, good. Guys, if you're just joining right now, I'm reading from the book, The Atlantean Conspiracy. Also, I do simultaneously record these streams, so if you ever, want to hear a previous stream or you miss one, I do upload them to my YouTube channel, which is Kumquat Kelly. So feel free to subscribe there and you can get all the videos there. I also do vlogs and travel videos. Okay, here's another quote from Anthony C. Sutton. The Trilateral Commission was founded by the persistent maneuvering of David Rockefeller and Zbigniew Brzezinski. Rockefeller, then chairman of the ultra-powerful Chase Manhattan Bank, a director of many major multinational corporations and endowment funds, has long been a central figure in the mysterious Council on Foreign Relations. Brzezinski, a brilliant prognosticator of a one-world idealism, has been a professor at Columbia University and the author of several books that have served as policy guidelines for the CFR. Brzezinski served as the Trilateral Commission's executive director from its inception in 1973 until late 1976, when he was appointed by President Carter as assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, end quote. You just said, hello, how are you? I'm good, thanks. All right, guys, give me 1 second. Let me just fix my camera.